Good morning, children. Welcome back to the English class. Today we are going to continue with our topic on direct and indirect speech and focus on interrogative sentences. We have already done how to change declarative sentences to indirect speech from direct to indirect speech. We are doing how to change or convert interrogative sentences. We are not going to do exclamatory sentences and imperative sentences right now, but we can change these also to indirect speech. Now, I hope everyone remembers the rules properly and can apply them to change these sentences. Yesterday, I had given you homework to do C53 from term 1 of Skill Enhancer. Have you done it? I'm sure most of you must have done it, and those who have not done it have now to try and do their prep on time so that you can compare the answers with me when I'm discussing the answers. Now let us see C53. Take your skill enhancer, open C53 and take a pencil to do the corrections. Now C53 again is sentence transformation, and in brackets they have given reported speech. Now I'll read the instruction. Read the conversation and complete the passage in reported speech. You can be asked to convert or complete the passage in indirect speech, or they may use the words reported speech. Both mean one and the same thing, that you have to change from direct speech to indirect speech. Now let me read the dialogues or the conversation. Receptionist: yes, what can I do for you? Visitor: I want to meet the manager, Mr. Rao. Can I have an appointment right now? Receptionist: I don't think so. He is not here at the moment. Now, this is a very short conversation, just two people talking, the visitor and the receptionist, and there are just four sentences because the visitor speaks two sentences. Three of them means two dialogues are by the receptionist and two are by the visitor, that is four. And we have two questions and two statements. So you have to keep in mind the rules which we must apply when we are changing to indirect speech. Now the passage has been started for you. The receptionist asked the visitor. Now the first question was, yes, what can I do for you? So we don't see the word yes, we'll have to first see the question word. And what is the question word used here? What? So we have to use it when we are converting it to indirect speech. The receptionist asked the visitor what she could do for him. Can changes to could and I to she. So the sentence will be in indirect speech. The receptionist asked the visitor what she could do for him, and a full stop. You have to remove the question mark. That you must remember. Now the second dialogue is, I want to meet the manager, Mr. Rao, which is a statement. Can I have an appointment right now? Which is a question. Now you'll have to keep this in mind, that first is a declarative sentence and the second one is an interrogative sentence, and how to change it. This one also has been started. The visitor replied, because it's a statement, we can't use asked. The visitor replied, and because it is a statement, you have to add that. The visitor replied that he wanted to meet the manager, Mr. Rao. Now, the next one is a question. So, then what can I do to this one? Can I have an appointment right now? So the visitor replied that he wanted to meet the manager, Mr. Rao, and asked, because now it is a question, if he could have an appointment right then. If he could have an appointment right then. If, because this starts with a word which is not an interrogative word. So if it is not an interrogative word, I have to use if or whether. So here we are using if. Can changes to could, I changes to he, and right now changes to right then. So the question has been converted to and asked if he could have an appointment right then. Now the last dialogue. Receptionist, I don't think so. He's not here at the moment. So they have started it for you. The receptionist replied because it is a statement and it's not a question. The receptionist replied that it was not possible because he was not there at the moment, or you could even write he was not there at that moment. Now you are supposed to write the answers in space for answers, because the blanks are too short, the space is less, and we have to write a lot of words at times. So please write what you want to fill in A, next to A in space for answers, B, C, and D. All the answers should be written there in the space for answers. Now, what were the other two worksheets I had given to you? The other two worksheets which I had given, which we have done before also, and two we had done before when I was doing declarative sentences, and two we left at that time because it had a lot of questions. Now we are going to do these two, and these two worksheets are in the second half, that is term 2 of skill enhancer. Now what is the worksheet which is on some instructions? There are dialogues. To bake a cake. Nafisa was teaching Afsha to bake a cake. Read the following dialogue and change the narration and fill in the blanks given below. Now let me read the conversation or the instructions. Nafisa, take 2 eggs and beat them till they are fluffy. Then add 1½ cup of flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and 2 cups of sugar, and beat well. Afsha, can I use a fork to beat the eggs? Nafisa, yes, you can. Finally, add a little vanilla essence and bake the cake for 45 minutes to an hour. Afsha, I'll surely bake the cake. Thank you for the recipe. Now the recipe has been given here in the form of dialogues. You are supposed to write the same thing in indirect speech. But remember, they have not given in the passage blanks for all the sentences. So whatever is given and is incomplete, you have to complete it. And the last sentences they have left, so you'll have to leave them. Now I'll start converting it or changing it to indirect speech. The first one has been started for you. Nafisa told Afsha. Now, what should I write when the instruction is given? So, Nafisa told Afsha to take 2 eggs and beat them till they were fluffy. To take 2 eggs and beat them till they were fluffy. Then she told her to, now the second blank is there. Then she told her to add 1.5 cup flour, 1 tablespoon baking powder, and 2 cups of sugar and beat well. You just have to copy this in indirect speech. Now, after you have done then, Afsha asked whether, now Afsha asked, the dialogue says, can I use a fork to beat the eggs? So, Afsha asked whether, what does can change to could? So, Afsha asked whether she could use a fork to beat the eggs. Now, the last one in this passage, Nafisa, yes, you can. And then she has the other dialogues or other instructions which are not taken in the passage. So, we just have to change yes, you can. So, we just say or change it. It has already been started. Nafisa said that she could. You can just write Nafisa said that she could, or you could even write yes, she could use the one. Yes, you can changes to yes, she could use, or yes, she could use the one. Done. Now we come to the next one, which was C17. But then, as you know, C17 we had already done when we were doing declarative sentences. And I hope it is complete. If it is not, please complete it as soon as possible. Then we go to C18, which again we had done with declarative sentences. And if you don't have these two done in your skill enhancer, you must do it as soon as possible. Now, yesterday I had given you C19 as homework, and the instruction says change the speech. Here, sentences are in direct speech and you have to change it to indirect speech. But when you get this instruction, change the speech, then you have to see in which the sentence is, whether the sentence is in direct speech or whether the sentence is in indirect speech. And if it is indirect, you have to change to indirect. And if it is in indirect, you have to change to direct. Here, of course, you are changing from direct to indirect. Now, I'll start with the first one. And you have no blanks here. So that means you have to change the sentence completely. The principal said to Rajat, would you like to participate in the debate? He said yes. That means I have to change it completely into indirect speech. So, would you like to participate in the debate is a question with a question mark. So, I must say asked or write asked. And because he said yes is a replied, I will write he replied. Now, what will be the answer? The principal questioned, or you can say asked. The principal questioned Rajat, or the principal asked Rajat whether he would like to participate in the debate. I told you if it's not an interrogative word, we use whether or if. So the principal questioned Rajat whether he would like to participate in the debate. He replied that he would. Yes means yes, he would like to participate. So we have to change accordingly. Now I'm reading this answer once again. The principal questioned Rajat whether he would like to participate in the debate. He replied that he would. And if you write yes, that is not correct, but then you just have to say he replied that he would. If you write he replied that he would like to participate in the debate, that's also correct, but you don't need to write it because we have already mentioned it before. So you just write he replied that he would. Have you got it? And if you have checked it properly, it should be in the space for answers. There are 3 lines given. So you have to complete it in your mind first, change it, and then write it in indirect speech. Shalini said, now I'm doing the second one. Shalini said to Malini, why did you take my pencil? Now again it's a question. So you can write the word questioned or asked. Instead of the question mark, the word should tell us that it's a question. So Shalini asked Malini why she had taken her pencil. Why did you take my pencil? Changes to why she had taken her pencil. I'll repeat this one. Shalini questioned Malini, or Shalini asked Malini why she had taken her pencil. Have you got it? This one, C19, is a little different because in addition to remembering the rules, you have to also pay attention to whether it's grammatically correct or not. And then frame it, think about it in your mind, and then write it down. Now, the third one. Mrs. David asked her son Clive whether he had completed his English homework. Clive replied that he had not and that he would complete that then. Now, this is a very long one. This is the answer. But what was the sentence? Have you completed your English homework, Clive? Question. Said Mrs. David to her son. No, mother, replied Clive. I'll just complete it. Now, before reading this, I have read the answer. So you know how to change sentences which are very long. Of course, there are 3 sentences together. Now, have you completed your English homework, Clive? Said Mrs. David to her son. This we have to take first. So it's a question, we use the word asked. Mrs. David asked her son Clive, though said Mrs. David to her son is at after the question last, we will bring it first. So Mrs. David asked her son Clive whether he had completed his English homework. Whether or if has to be used, so whether he had completed his English homework. I'll repeat this one. It is long and you need to be attentive. Mrs. David asked her son Clive whether he had completed his English homework. Now, no, mother, replied Clive. So, how am I going to change it in indirect speech? Clive replied that he had not. Clive replied that he had not. I'll just complete it is added to it. So we use the word and. Clive replied that he had not and he would complete that then. I'll complete it. That means at that time, then, and it changes to that. So this is a difficult one. Now I'm going to read all the 3 parts together. Please pay attention to this one. Mrs. David asked her son Clive whether he had completed his English homework. full stop. Clive replied that he had not and that he would complete that then. Full stop again. Got it? Now, if you have not got it, please watch the video again and get the correct answer. Now, the last one in this exercise, the student apologized to the principal. The student said to the principal is there, but in the answer, I have used the word apologized. Why? You will see. Now I'm reading the dialogue first. The student said to the principal, I'm sorry, sir. I broke the window by mistake. Now, why we are using the word apologized? Because in the dialogue there is the word sorry. Now, you say sorry when you apologize to someone. So, when you are writing it in indirect speech, the word apologized has to be used. If it is an order, you can use the word ordered, commanded in, of course, imperative sentences. So the student said to the principal, I'm sorry, sir, I broke the window by mistake. So what will it be in indirect speech? The student apologized to the principal. We can't use sorry in indirect speech when we are converting it. So the word apologized tells us that he was sorry. So the student apologized to the principal and said that I broke the window by mistake. It gets converted to the perfect tense. So, and said that he had broken the window by mistake. Now I'm repeating this answer. The student apologized to the principal and said that he had broken the window by mistake. Now in this one again, please write the answers in the space for answers properly and neatly so that when you are studying for your exams or your test, you have all the correct answers written clearly and you don't get confused. Now that was yesterday's homework. Three things you have to remember when you are changing interrogative sentences from direct speech to indirect speech. Three very important things. Then there are many more which you have to remember. But then I must tell you that there are always exceptions. If you see your sentence is not sounding right, or you need to make other changes, you have to, so that you get grammatically correct sentences. Now the three things which I told you: first, remove the quotation marks, the comma and the question mark. No one is going to use any of these in indirect speech. If you change the sentence and then put the question mark back, you don't get marks. So remember to remove quotation marks, to remove the comma, and to remove the question mark. Then the word said has to change to a word which tells us that it is a question which we are writing in indirect speech. So said has to change to asked, questioned, inquired, wondered, etc. And the third thing is, when I'm writing it in indirect speech, I have to write it as a statement. I cannot write it as a question. Would he changes to he would. Is she was. So please remember that it has to be written as a statement. Now I hope you all have learned all the tables which were given after David Begins a New Life part 1 and 2. by heart. If you have not, please learn what changes to what, the tenses, the pronouns, and of course the words which show specific time and nearness. And then if it is a declarative sentence, I add the conjunction that, but in a question I will never add that to be used as a conjunction. I have to either use the interrogative word which is given in the question, and if it starts with a helping verb, I have to use if or whether. That is all on this topic, children. Till we meet next time, thank you. Take care.